A localized logistics server registers a single unauthorized breach. Before human operators can even assess the anomaly, the disruption jumps the gap. A corrupted data feed and shipping instantly severs energy routing protocols across the region, forcing financial clearinghouses to pause operations to prevent a ledger collapse. This diagram illustrates a cascading system failure. Tightly coupled networks transform an isolated shock into a high-speed chain reaction across domains. Tracking this ripple effect reveals the ultimate cost. A collapse in technology and finance maps directly to a sudden drop in social stability. Because these high-speed interactions are unpredictable, modern states now exist in a condition of permanent systemic instability. For over 400 years, the international system operated on the Westphalian model. Under this framework, a nation's power and sovereignty were defined by its ability to control physical land and enforce geographic borders. To maintain this control, governments built a metaphorical fortress. They used centralized administrative hierarchies and military force to defend static boundaries against external threats. This comparative graphic reveals why the fortress model is now obsolete. We no longer operate within the bounded perimeters shown on the left. Today, survival relies on the dense, borderless flows of digital information, energy, and capital shown on the right. This interconnectivity creates a new threat vector known as the pivot domino. This is a specific, vulnerable asset, like a customs clearance ledger at a major port, whose failure triggers a cross-domain collapse before centralized authorities can even convene a meeting. This graphic compares the two governance models under stress. On the left, a traditional centralized hierarchy shatters under a sudden shock. On the right, a distributed adaptive network absorbs the impact by instantly rerouting its flows. The fortress model is obsolete. Hierarchical command is too slow, fragmented, and reactive to survive the high-speed velocity of a modern systemic shock. Because instability is now a permanent condition, attempting to prevent every disruption is a mathematical impossibility. The objective of the modern state requires a new metric: flow sovereignty. Flow sovereignty is the capacity to sustain command authority and keep critical assets moving, whether that's data, electricity, or food, even while the surrounding network degrades. This architectural schematic details the Aquarian Systemic Resilience Doctrine, or ASR. It outlines how to embed this operational continuity directly into a nation's structure by vertically integrating decision processes, institutional frameworks, and physical infrastructure. ASR replaces the centralized pyramid with a distributed national mesh. It treats trade networks, power grids, and financial clearing platforms as a single interconnected organism rather than separate silos. ASR represents an acknowledgement that the architecture of governance must evolve to match the structure of the complex systems it governs. The national mesh operates by utilizing microsovereigns. Individual nodes, like regional hospitals or independent data centers, are pre-programmed with command protocols that allow them to maintain functional autonomy for 72 hours if central command goes dark. Because modern governments do not own most of the critical infrastructure, this mesh includes ASR Lite. This tier specifically integrates private sector corporate supply chains and commercial logistics into national emergency protocols. To manage this at scale, planners use live digital twins. By creating an exact virtual replica of the physical supply network, AI runs thousands of rapid simulations to predict infrastructure failures and automate the rerouting of assets. Sweden is actively operationalizing this model through its total defense strategy. They issue concrete preparedness guidance to over 130,000 corporate workplaces, legally binding private industry and psychological defense directly into their national security apparatus. National resilience has moved beyond the halls of government to become an emergent property of a whole-of-society ecosystem. Superpower status is detaching from territorial size. Geopolitical leverage now concentrates in the states that position themselves as indispensable nodes within global flows. This diagram visualizes the anchor state. A single nation acts as the central hub, managing trade, digital infrastructure, and global liquidity. By embedding itself deeply, it guarantees its survival. If the anchor drops, the web collapses, forcing the international order to protect it. Rebuilding infrastructure to achieve this yields immediate economic benefits. By designing systems to adapt automatically, standard logistics congestion drops by 18%, and energy consumption falls by 30%. Economists refer to this gain in everyday efficiency as the resilience windfall. Transitioning to a networked architecture serves as a strategic capital protection instrument. It secures national wealth against cascading shocks while establishing structural dominance on the world stage. This diagram illustrates the ultimate strategic objective, keeping command and flow intact despite disruption. This goal sits where resilient architecture, networked governance, and systemic sovereignty intersect. Mastering this triad provides the structural capacity to shape the stability of international systems. Sovereignty is shifting from defending geographic fortresses to weaving resilient networks. Future power belongs to the states that can master this architecture.